Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of the Evolution Exchange podcast for the Nordics, a melting pot of ideas and inspiration shared by some of the most successful technical leaders in the Nordic region. My name is Chris Bennett, and me and my team help connect businesses with freelance tech talent. Today is a very special episode as I'm currently recording this live from the Truecaller office in Stockholm, and we're discussing what it's like to work with 300 million users in tech at Truecaller. I've had the pleasure of being shown around the awesome office, and we're currently in their cinema room. As with all our podcasts, we've invited people on to discuss their passion, and with me now are three awesome people. So let's get some introductions done. We'll work our way around the room. Milena.
So, hi, my name is Milena. I have been working for Truecaller for almost full 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I have moved to Sweden 4 years ago from North Macedonia. So technically I have been working as a QA for the last 8 years, I believe, already. My career didn't start as a tester. I started as a IT audit and as a support analyst, but testing was always my passion, so I gradually moved towards testing. Between other stuff, I love music. I play violin in free time. So, yeah, that's...
It's a great start. Lenny, can you follow that up?
Yeah.
Are we going with Lenny or Liniker?
Lenny, call me Lenny.
Lenny.
Yeah, that
Lenny,
works.
give us your introduction.
All right. So, hi, I'm Liniker. I have been working for Truecaller for about 4.5 years, I guess. It's been a great journey, primarily. And I started off my career as a data intern, actually, 4 or 5 years back. And I worked my way up to the lead of the data discipline currently in the search team. I like to play the guitar from India, and I like to sing as well. Not your bathroom singer types, but
No.
proper.
Full-on singer. Is it too early in the podcast to ask you to sing?
Yeah, it's too early.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
a bit later.
By the way, Valterri, if you can't do an instrument or sing, the band is screwed already.
I think I'll just have to settle for managing the band then.
Perfect. And on that note, Valterri, give us your introduction, please.
My name is Valterri. I work as a backend engineer. I'm a staff backend engineer here at Truecaller. Been here for about 6.5 years. Moved here from Finland to work for Truecaller in the beginning of 2016. I used to work at a company called Rovio, the home of Angry Birds, where I had a similar job, but was really excited when I learned about Truecaller, and they offered me a job, and I hopped on the boat and came over to Stockholm.
Okay. Perfect. Some fantastic introductions there. So today, what are we talking about? So what it's like working with 300 million, I stress that, users in tech at Truecaller. So, first question. What's it like working for Truecaller? Milena, do you want to take it away?
I would say that at the beginning, I wasn't expecting this. So it was quite surprising in a nice way experience, because Truecaller is not an app which was commonly used in my country back then, but and of course that was because we didn't have the need to use something like that. But the first time when I heard about Truecaller, it was quite intriguing. So when I joined and I learned the scale of the Truecaller app and the benefit which it brings to the user, it was quite refreshing to be able to take part of Truecaller's journey and growth in the last 3 years, I would say. So every day is a challenge. Every day is an exciting day by itself. So yeah, it's a quite refreshing experience, I would say.
Perfect.
For somebody who strives for excellence and benefit to others.
Well, it sounds like you've not regretted it, which is a very good thing. Yeah. Lenny?
Yeah, so for me, being able to provide your products and features out to 300 million users, knowing that you may change someone's life every day, or you might protect someone from a case of spam or impersonation. I think I'm passionate about what I do, especially working for a company that brings about a change, so many parameters. In terms of women's safety, saving people's money out of their pocket. I think it's it pushes me every day, right? So I come to work. I don't come to work and think about, hey, I need to work on this piece of code today. No, I come to work and think about how I'm going to change someone's life tomorrow, right? I think that's the important part about what we do here at Truecaller. And having that presence amongst 300 million users, like I said, gives us the ability to move the needle. And we've grown rapidly. We've brought a lot to the table in terms of our intelligence. So yeah, it's been a very exciting journey and fulfilling journey, I would say.
That's really interesting, Lynn, that you actually, it's not just stopping spam.
Yeah.
It's the stuff after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like women's safety. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so we now women do get harassed a lot in various countries, like depending upon which country you're talking about. And these are issues that keep bubbling up, but there are very few apps that actually protect them from this. And with our caller identification service, our contextual information that we provide about a phone number, someone can be assured that this is the person we're talking to. Tomorrow, any sort of illicit texts are sent, there's a way to trail back to this person. Or if someone's bothering you or stalking you, there's always a way to trail back to this person. So it also gives people some parameter of safety that they can hold on to, especially with our Guardians app. You can always be protected on the go as well. So that's our prime goal, especially in what we also consider as important to our whole product.
It's really interesting that. Valterri, what's it like for you?
I mean, God, I agree 100% with what Milena and Lini talked about what we do and why that's important. But to me, it's also important, like, how we do it. I think that's also exciting. Like, the fact that we ship a new version every week that eventually goes out to hundreds of millions of people. We have, a lot of engineers coming together to build something, to make sure it's of the highest quality. It's going to work for a lot of people, a lot of different phones, and a lot of different markets. But still, that we're not a huge company, so even individuals get to have a pretty big impact. Just on a day-to-day basis. I think those are also things that make it exciting to work here on top of the mission that Lini spoke so well about.
What do you believe Truecaller stands for, Lenny?
Yeah, so I believe the primary goal, especially for us, is to protect our users from unsolicited and unwanted communication. And we also keep privacy in mind on every aspect. We do wonder what our users think about us, and before they could even think about us doing something with their data, we make sure that we're always privacy driven in the first stage, so we never reach that stage, right?
Okay.
So I think that's our drive, that's our motive, to help users, to save them money at the same time. Most of our app is in a freemium fashion, a freemium kind of model. So everyone gets the opportunity to use it, whether you're rich, poor, whether you're middle class. So it gives an opportunity to everyone at the same time. So that's what we want to do, make this available to everyone so that they can be protected from this kind of communication. Yeah.
Could you maybe say a few more words about how we take privacy into account and the kind of data side of things?
Yeah, there's so many things. For example, when we try to find out names for your phone numbers, we pick it up out of user-generated content, which comes through suggestions, etc. So when a user suggests something, that's when we pick up those names from these users, especially through spam reports. It's all driven by the community. So whenever a user blocks a number or unblocks a number or provides some kind of suggestion, we could probably take a lot of other data that other apps do, but we don't like to do that. That's not our goal. That's not our objective, right? So we try to keep it on the down low and try to keep our box closed, but at the same time grow within that box and see what we can do with what we have on the table.
Milena?
And I just want to add to what Lini said. So it's not just saving the time of the user, but as well as their mental and physical health, because in a lot of countries, a lot of people get harassed. So that creates a lot of frustration for the user. So when we try to provide with them, and as Lini said, most of our features are free because we want to contribute to the community for better health in general. This is what our main drive is. So that's why we take a huge aspect, even in the testing part, of how we treat the data from the users and towards the users, of course, because today we live in a world where everybody is obsessed about how data has been processed, which data a company takes from me and what is giving me in return. And we are very, very aware of the not just the legal requirements of specific regions, but as well of what will benefit towards the users both ways. So we are never taking anything extra than what we need and the user has provided to us. And of course, backwards, we try to provide the correct data towards the user. So I think that that's our hugest drive in general.
It's really interesting speaking to you. I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because some people, when they hear Truecaller, it's stopping sales calls or spam. Yeah, you've already, we're 7-8 minutes into discussion, and there's so much more. Yeah. Valterri, what do you believe Truecaller stands for? Have you got any further thoughts on that?
I mean, I think most important stuff has been covered there. I think like the trust that people show us and show the app is really something we're proud of. And of course, that also comes into the communication features that we have. We have, instant messenger in the app. We have some other communication features. And I think people use those because they trust us, because of the things that Linny and Milena talked about. So I think it allows us to, grow and be something on people's phones that they feel that they can trust and they feel is there for them.
Yeah, adding value.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And on that point, yeah, what you mentioned before that it's not just what the company stands for, it's how you do it, and how is. Obviously, there's a lot of people involved in that. So, Valterri, what type of people work at Truecaller?
What type of people? Well, I would say the people at Truecaller are very driven. I mean, the fact that we're able to pull this type of app off with only a few hundred people is very impressive, and it's only possible because we hire people who not only are good at their work in a technical sense or in product management or design or whatever it may be, but I think we also have a great culture in the company. We have a culture of helping each other, of collaboration, of really shipping things. Like it's code inherently does not want to be shipped. It is it's a very tricky thing to get it out the door. But we managed to do it, week to week and month to month, and that's we've set up a company and people and processes that enable us to do it in a really impressive way.
Lenny?
Yeah.
What type of people? Is there anything to add on that? There must be some characters around here.
I mean, of course,
Talking to them.
In addition to before this podcast, Lenny, you were like very, very funny, and you come in here so professional. Yeah, he's so relaxed, and then I'm like, where's Lenny? There he is.
So yeah, you do get, in addition to what Valterri said, I think it was bang on, but you do get a lot of people that wear multiple hats here at Truecaller. Some that are joking around the office all day, lightening up the environment, and bringing about a lot of fun. But yeah, you like Valterri said, all of us are quite talented at what we do. It's not one person that specifically knows what he's doing in his role, but also knows other parts of the business and the product. Most of us know deeply about our features and what we're trying to do in an environment. It's just not about waking up in the morning, like I said, finishing your piece of code and pushing it, but there's a lot more to it, right? How can you add a little more functionality to this? How can you add your little sugar or your magic to your code? I think it's quite important, and it keeps us driven at the same time. So I would say it's quite diverse. You get some serious people, you get some happy people, but I love the diversity. It's nice that you don't have this one size fits all culture, but I think there are different kind of sizes, and we've learned to work together in unison, which is great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hello.
Besides what Valterri and Lini have said, the thing is that what I really love about Truecaller is the strive from improvement. So we are not just specialized in our field. So it's not my job just to care about the testing and then I go home and I don't care anything else. So we all collaborate in a very deep level, I would say. So it's not that just the product decides on what we are going to do. We all decide together and we contribute to improve each idea, to iterate, to learn from our users, and to even our users are a great input for our features. So this collaboration, which is happening between few hundred people and 3 billion users, it's quite an impressive thing to see, because that is how you really solve the user's problem. It's not that we think that we are going to solve something on ourselves, but we listen to our users and we try to iterate on those ideas. So me being just a tester, it's not just a tester.
Yeah.
I'm a real contribution to what we deliver at the end towards the users.
It's fascinating listening to all three of you about, you sound very connected to the end user. Do you know what I mean? You're trying to keep that as close as possible, that feedback loop. One of the reasons you were all asked on, obviously, because you're incredible, funny people. But apart from that, you're all in different roles. So could you give our listeners, just remind them of the role you do, and how does 300 million users, how does that affect your role in particular? So we'll start with you, Valterri.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a backend developer, but work with lots of different types of engineers, client engineers, data engineers, data analysts, and so forth. But when it comes to, let's talk about the backend specifically, right? Scale is everything there. So we have 300 million daily active users. We have a lot of different features in the app, which require lots of communication with the backend. That's just going to mean that we're going to have a lot of throughput, a lot of communication happening all the time. On top of that, our app needs to be up 100% of the time. We can't do maintenance downtimes. We can't have, it just didn't work that weekend. Those are just unacceptable things, right? So what does that mean? Well, it means we need to really focus on the choice of technology that we make. We need to really focus on how we implement our code, how we implement our API, so that they're of the highest quality, and we can make sure that they work correctly always, that they're maintainable. We need to be able to track and monitor how everything works.
But just to jump in there, so two things you mentioned there: the choice of language, choice of tech. Give us an insight into what you've chosen.
So our stack mainly runs on top of the JVM.
Yeah.
So Scala and Java. These are battle-tested technologies we've used for many years. They allow us to build the kind of scalable systems that I was talking about. They both exist within a great ecosystem that allows us to bring in libraries or technologies that basically can fulfill our every need, and they can do that while being, open sourced, while being free, which is another important part of our ethos here.
And how do you maintain a culture of quality?
That's a big question. If I knew that, would I be sitting here? No. So it's a great question. I think it comes down. We talked about hiring. We talked about the people here. That's always going to be key, right? You need to find people who understand what quality is, who are want to take responsibility and want to be part of a team that delivers quality and want to show up every day to produce quality. And then there's lots of things you can do on the process side, in terms of teaching people, in terms of code reviews, in terms of mentoring. You can do a lot of things to really support people and help teams grow. But it has to start with hiring. It has to start with having people who have the right attitude.
Okay.
Chris, can I just can you maybe just tell it this way?
Okay, this way.
Yeah. Oh, good. Now
I'll go. Right. Okay. That's the camera guy. Cheers. I hope you leave this in. Okay. Linny. tell us your role and why 300 million users. How does it affect it?
Yeah. So I'm a data scientist, and I've been in the field for quite some time. As you know, data is the new gold, right? There's so much you can sift through. There could be so much noise, but you need to find the gems that lay in this rubbish, right? That's the primary aspect of it. Especially while you deal with 300 million users, you need to build things for scale, knowing that you've grown so fast that you may even become 600 million in the next few years. So you need to build for the future, right? You need to build for scalability. Now, machine learning models as well, the more accurate they are, I mean, it's a better user experience that you can provide, right? Especially when we detect spammers and provide the right names, etc. We want to be accurate with it. So we're constantly improving things on a day-to-day basis. Even though we have something that beat our previous model by maybe 20% or 30%, we still think that we can do better. So we're in a constant run to achieve more, to be better, to sift more through our data. And in the field of data science, it's a very research-driven field. So you're constantly learning new things about users every day. You're learning about how your app functions with these users, and you also understand and simulate environments where users may behave differently, right? In different countries, you have so many different behavioral patterns. But yeah, the field is quite interesting, especially when you're dealing with big data, right? That's a hot word, especially with large companies.
Yeah.
Given that we have 300 million users, know that these 300 million users are talking to billions of other people, right? It's all connected. So also as a data scientist, it's fine if you're heavily oriented towards statistics or your coding or your engineering, but you also need to be a salesman. You need to be able to explain what your model does to your grandmother and to a PhD scientist as well. You should have that spectrum of ability. Otherwise, you're doing something wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's something that I've learned over the years. It's not about picking up your fanciest algorithm, but it's really about understanding the business context behind it, what you're trying to achieve. To make data usable, you need to understand business context. You can put 100 sensors on an airplane, but if you don't know what they mean, what is the point, right? So
Great analogy.
Can I jump in here actually? So what do we do differently in data science from a company with 1 million monthly active users? Like is it what we work or what tools we use, or like what's the difference to a much smaller?
So I guess it's also what we offer, our offering, and the kind of data we receive as well. If you're talking about a 1 million active user base for a certain product, there are lack of patterns that can be unearthed. Maybe these 1 million people don't exhibit too many patterns. It's hard to isolate a certain pattern out of them, because you may say, okay, I found 5 patterns, but 2 of them are outliers and they don't really mean anything because there are not other people exhibiting those same patterns. You may have a skew within that 1 million. But when you reach a large number, central limit theorem applies, where things normalize over a larger population, right? It's like the gender balance on planet Earth, right? It's 50-50. Even though it's not planned by some superpower, it always hits that limit. So I think the more data you have, the more you can, there's always a limit as well. Whether you have 300 million or you have 1 billion, you might have the same insights, right? But you need to have enough to get there. Too little is not good enough.
So you're almost saying it's actually better. If you're a data scientist, it's better to have more data.
Absolutely.
Truecaller.
But you need to know how to use it, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're putting a bus in someone's hand who just got their license, and it's going to be hard for them to drive, right?
How many data people have you got over at Truecaller?
I think we have quite a few within the search team. We currently have 4.
Yeah.
Right. In other teams, I think we have an average of about 2 to 3. So cumulatively, we may have about 15 to 20 data scientists, and with combined data engineers, about 25.
Okay.
But we reached that point as a company diverges into data science. They also have a curve when you hit data maturity, and you say your company is data mature. So we're around that curve right now, and as that curve comes into play, these are split into multiple positions, like a machine learning engineer or a data scientist, and it gets split further down the line.
Okay.
So I guess that's where we're heading, especially with how we're growing.
What does that mean, data maturity? Can you give us a
Yeah.
two-sentence description?
So in terms of data maturity, when you start off, you're receiving all this data in, but there's no way to process it. There's no way to input it. It's probably stored somewhere. So you hire an analyst, right? The analyst sits and says, "Hey, how do I use this data? What do I do with it?" Right? And so then we bring in some data engineers, and they come and let's create this data warehouse. Let's make these tables. So then you can derive some insights from it. Then you simply follow like a raw, bronze, silver, and gold standard level of tables, where raw would be just your normal records, and gold would be something management can look at. Say, I want to go in and see what this KPI looks at. So developing this end to end over a period of time, and when it matures, when it's polished, I would say a company becomes data mature when they have the ability to deploy their own machine learning models, when they have the ability to understand data points, when they can start tracking data points overnight. I think that's when I would say a company's data mature. But that growth stage and that growth phase to address scalability takes some time, and that's just how it is. Yeah.
Milena, tell us your role and how does it affect it?
So I am test engineer.
Mhm.
Everybody's talking about quality, so
Here we
this
go.
is my main hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 300 million users. It's not a small number. So if you think about other types of apps, that's just as a comparison. We're not in a medical or aviation or an kind of a high health security risk app where we need to cover every single possible scenario, and you have trained people who are working with your app or instruments or your application or whatever it is. We are constantly delivering our app to common people. So we need to and these common people are everywhere around the world, so they're using their app on devices which probably half of the world hasn't even heard about. So tackling these challenges is the biggest challenge, I would say, in testing, because we need to think a little bit outside the box. We shouldn't think about covering every single possible scenario, which probably will never occur.
Yeah.
But we need to solve the user's problem, which most of them will interact on a day-to-day basis. So that is our main challenge. So we need to always anticipate the unexpected, because the users are not trained. We cannot tell them, this is how you should make a call. This is how the spam will come and you should block it, and this is how it will be. The users learn by using the app.
Right.
And we try to gather feedback as much as possible and adjust towards that. So that is, I would say, the biggest and the interesting part of it, because we come up with challenges which most of the people around the world in the testing industry will not.
What's the how is the testing team set up at Truecaller? Is it a team? Are you embedded? Tell us about that.
So we are part of the BU. So as Lini mentioned, Search BU. So we are a part of the Search BU. So we in the Search BU we are two test engineers. The structure for us is that each of the teams should be able to maintain its own features and have the most knowledge about these features. But as a testers, we have a testing team, I would say, which is, I think that's roughly above around 25 people.
Okay.
And all of us are part of BUs. So we take care and we have the biggest domain knowledge of our features. But the thing is that these features are not standalone. So we, as part of the Search BU, we provide entry points and data which other BUs are using as well, like the calling, the messaging BU. So we interact a lot with each other. And as testers, because we have the horizontal knowledge, so we know how our clients think, we know how the app is behaving on the devices, and we know how the backend behaves on the API level, I would say. So this is the main knowledge, and this is the biggest contribution that we give as well, because we have the broadest perspective that we can bring to the team of our BU and as well among the QAs. So
How important is collaboration and knowledge sharing in the testing role?
I would say that it's maybe one of the most important aspects, I would say, because this is how, I mean, we're proud of the very good communication and collaboration, as I mentioned in the beginning. So that doesn't mean that we only improve the quality of the features that we do, but we are always striving to improve the product quality in general. So we are not ashamed to go to somebody else and to tell, look, I'm sorry, but I see an issue with your features. And everybody is very accepting and very open to receive feedback, any kind of feedback. So that is how we can iterate and learn, because when you are always stuck with building your own stuff or testing your stuff, you're kind of becoming biased. So when somebody else comes from outside and gives you a fresh look on what you do, on what you test, on what you have missed, because when you test constantly one single thing, you kind of start to be, I would say, the mind gets bored after some time. So getting this fresh input from the rest of the QA community, the rest of the teams, it's quite refreshing, I would say.
Who receives feedback the best? Yeah, Milena, is it Valterri or?
Well, this is a very political question. I have to answer it very correctly. Actually, I haven't found a person in Truecaller who is very difficult to receive a feedback.
Yeah.
On any level, I would say, from management to QA to data scientist, developer, everybody. And probably that's, again, one of the great values and characters that we strive to have in Truecaller.
Yeah.
We want to have this open communication inside the company because, of course, nobody's perfect, right? So if I don't get, and we consider ourselves as, and at least for me, we are one big family. So when you're in your family, you feel confident and you know that you're protected. So every feedback is welcomed. So that's why for me personally, I haven't found a person in Truecaller who is like, I don't know, bad in receiving feedback or a little bit protective. Yeah. Because the feedback is not for telling that somebody is doing a bad job. Yeah. It's about how can we improve our product, because I'm just a tester, right? I don't technically deliver a product. Yeah. I just strive to improve what backend engineers have done, what app client engineers have done, and what the data scientists have produced as an output of their machine learning models or data analysis. So it's this mentality and this culture of trying to improve. I think that it's one of the core values that each of us brings in ourselves.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of these questions that we've answered are centered around the people at Truecaller. Yeah, and the people at Truecaller. What is everyone doing this afternoon, by the way?
So today we're having our annual summer party. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Tell us about it. What happens?
What happens?
Yeah,
what happens stays there.
Well, I can tell you what I remember. No, I mean, we have a usually very relaxed summer event once a year. It's more about socializing, more about seeing people before people go off for summer vacation. This year it's going to be here, right in the heart of the city. We're going out on a boat, lovely Stockholm archipelago. So it's always a good time.
And the weather's awesome today.
It's a beautiful, beautiful day.
Yeah. I suppose, is there anything that anyone can add around? I know scalability and quality are very important to all three of you. Yeah. Is there anything to add that we've not told our listeners about, kind of what you're doing and how you're doing it? Or have we covered most things?
Yeah. Lena, you want to go first? Or?
Yeah, sure. I think especially when it comes to quality and scalability, like I said, we have to prepare for the future. So a few things that we're doing at Truecaller, especially in data science domain, is building our own machine learning operations platform. right?
Okay.
This enables a data scientist or an analyst alike to create a model and deploy it with a click of a button or 2 clicks of a button. So what we believe here at Truecaller especially is not building things from scratch and not reinventing the wheel, but yet using a lot of open source technologies that are already present out there. Now, this is an art to putting it together. I mean, availability is not solving your problem, but the art of putting it together and allowing it to function together is what we're looking at. And as data grows, the requirement for resources to support this growth is constantly needed, right? So we're always on a run to predict what we need, what we should upgrade to, what kind of technologies we should be using at this point of time, and how it can help us support the various aspirations that we have through our product managers and the upper management.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little bit.
Yeah.
I wanted to basically talk about a very similar theme, which is learning. I mean, you talked about developing and being on the cutting edge, but I think just in general, everyone needs to be learning all the time. That's just what needs to happen in order for us to be able for us to deliver at this level. As an engineer, I can speak for what that looks like for us. It means we have to constantly be developing our understanding of the tools and technologies that we use. Constantly be making sure that our team is also growing and that understanding is being shared within the organization. That's, I think, something that always has to be at the forefront of your mind. If you're not going forward, then you're being left behind.
Yeah.
What space do you give the engineers to learn new things, to give them the platform to make those decisions?
So we have internal workshops. We have internal methods of sharing information and innovation, but really it's these like Milena talked about earlier about the BUs, so business units. So these are kind of cross-functional teams where the product work gets done, and we really encourage innovation among those. We tell engineers, if you think that there's a technology or a process or an idea that you think can help you deliver, then do it. Go try it out. Try to make it work. And if it works, then let's share that with the whole company. Let's share that with the whole organization, and see if we can leverage the initial investigation that you did on behalf of the whole company. And I think that has really worked well, and a lot of really good innovation has come out of giving people autonomy to go out and test stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, you also have to give them the responsibility over that. Like they're the ones who are going to be responsible, right? But I think if you hire the right people, that will only be a thing that pushes them to excellence.
Yeah, they're gonna want that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So finally, right, what challenges do you see coming up in this year and next year working at Truecaller? And we'll kick it off with Lenny.
Yeah, sure. So our biggest challenge especially is now that we're looking at new markets, markets that we have identified that we can probably grow in. This includes Bangladesh and Indonesia, etc. I think addressing their needs, because every country has a different need, right? And allowing us to grow there exponentially is something that's going to be the biggest challenge. But few markets that we're growing organically because we're very well known. People know about the app and what it provides. There's some markets where people need to know more. So we need to send out more communication, educate them about what Truecaller provides. Besides your caller ID and spam blocking, there's a plethora of features that we can bring to the table, right? So I think that's our biggest challenge as of now. How we're going to tap in these markets, how we're going to bring about a larger penetration in these markets and address a wider variety of users. Yeah.
Milena?
I've already foreseen the 3 billion users before, so...
You did say,
I've already foreseen the
I
3
didn't pick you
billion.
up on it. I thought, we'll go with it.
Well, it will happen soon, so it's just a matter of time.
yeah. But what is the big challenges then for you?
Well, it's great as we grow, but every growth brings, as Lini was mentioning, a diversity of data inputs, a diversity of devices which we will interact, and of course, the diversity of how our opponents behave. And by opponents, I mean spammers and people who are actually harassing the people who we want to try to protect. So I guess that as the digital era grows, that's where our challenges will grow, besides our user base and our customers, because we are facing more and more different types of interactions towards our users that we want to try to protect them against, because it's not just that we are learning stuff, our spammers are learning stuff, and they always try to find different ways to interact with our users. So to accommodate that, we need to find different ways on how we can protect. So here is where the data engineers and their machine learning models come into place. This is where our backend engineer come, where they have to bring even more stability towards the service. But as well as even Valterri and Lini said before, our biggest challenge that we are day-to-day facing and compensating is our strive for excellence. So even though we might not be in the medical industry and testing everything, that doesn't stop us for improving every single day to strive for better testing methods, to introduce more automation so we can free our time to cover more exploratory testing, to try to cover more for the quality of our users. So yeah, I would say that it's learn as we go. It's probably our biggest challenge, but which we are anyway overcoming every single day as we go.
These spammers,
Yeah.
They need to stop. Is this a never-ending battle?
Yes.
Yeah.
They constantly find ways to beat us. They constantly find ways to fool people.
Yeah.
So we are on, like Milena said, we're striving for excellence. They're also striving to spam people. Right?
Yeah, there's another podcast in another world happening about a group of spammers going, we love it. Absolutely.
We're going to screw them up.
Yeah, I mean, before I would say in my country, you can rarely receive maybe one call per month from somebody who is trying to sell you something. I went home 1 year ago, I would say, and I got 5 spam calls from Sweden in one day and 10 spam calls on my Macedonian number, which was never the case before. And I have been recommending Truecaller app to quite a few people, and I got an opportunity to talk with one friend of mine who has a business there, and I've told him I work for Truecaller. Oh my God, that's the best app. It has saved me so much stupid calls to talk with people who are trying to sell me some stuff in vain. So hearing this, it's an excellent.
And also adding to that, as we have data, spammers also have data.
Yeah.
So they know who to target. They know that, hey, I'm going to call Chris and he's probably wants to buy a house now. I'm going to basically fool him into spending some money on something, right?
Yeah.
So they always have data. They know who to target. They have their own segments, right? So if you have the propensity to spend money, expect that you may receive a lot of spam calls. Because and if your number's out in the open, unless you have a private number, right? So just as we have data, they have data. And it's a constant battle towards the end of it, and who wins and who can derive the most importance from their data.
Valtteri?
On the challenges.
Yeah, you see the challenges.
I mean, Milena and Lini spoke, eloquently about our mission and how that affects people. So to add a little bit slightly different bent to the conversation, as an engineer, we're constantly building things, and when we have this kind of growth in the company and the amount of people in the company, it creates a bit of a balancing act in between. There's lots of pressure to build new stuff, right? New features out the door. It needs to be shiny, it needs to look good on PowerPoints, and that's great, and people love working out those new features.
Yeah.
But as the app grows, there's more and more, maintenance that needs to get done. There's more and more bugs that need to get fixed.
Ooh, filthy words.
All the while,
Filthy words.
it's the truth. It's the truth.
Just answer that.
yeah.
All the
Greenfield.
Right. So you're balancing building new things. You're balancing maintaining what's already there. Also, someone needs to have their kind of head above the fray and be thinking about, okay, where are we gonna be in a year? Where are we gonna be in 3 years? Where are we gonna be in 10 years?
Yeah.
And all of those things need to be thought about on a lot of different levels and what they mean for the company today, so that we can be where we want to be in the future. So when you have fast growth and you have a lot of things going on, I think those are some of the things that we try to balance to make sure that things go smoothly also the next 10 years.
Valtteri, give us one of these. Lenny, Milena, absolute pleasure